Hi, in this video, we'll talk about fully checked and partially checked exceptions. So in one of our previous videos, we have discussed about checked exception and unchecked exception or unchecked type. So in this video, we have inside the checked exceptions, we have fully checked versus partially checked exception. So we'll see what is fully checked and what is partially checked. So when you talk about fully checked exception, a checked exception is said to be fully checked exception if and only if the exception class and all its child classes also checked. Okay, so what do you mean by that? When you talk about fully checked exception, so a class and all its child classes. So class and its child classes. Okay, so all are should be checked. Okay, then those are called fully checked exceptions. So if you talk about few of the examples, so IO exception, interrupted exception, SQL exceptions, these are few fully checked exceptions. Okay, so checked exception means the class and all its child classes also should be checked, then only those are called fully checked exceptions. Okay, so then what do you mean by partially checked exception? So let me clear this. So when you talk about partially checked exception, so a checked exception is said to be partially checked exception if and only if some of its child classes are unchecked. So the parent class is checked. But if you have some childs for this, few may be checked, few unchecked. Okay, so all child classes are not checked. So few are unchecked, few are checked. Then those are called partially checked exceptions. Few of the examples is throwable and exception. Okay, so this is the difference between fully checked versus partially checked exceptions. So if you look into this diagram again, which we already saw in the exception hierarchy. So the main class is parent or superclass. For exception is what? Throwable. Okay, so throwable has error and exception. So inside the exception, runtime is unchecked. Okay, so if you talk about something like this, throwable has exception and error. So error is unchecked type, right? Error is unchecked type. So throwable has exception and error. So obviously it will become partially checked. Okay, this is partially checked. So when you talk about error, anyway it is unchecked exception, no need to talk about this. But when you come to the exception, you have so many child classes. In those, runtime exception is unchecked. So remaining all are checked. So as per the definition, if a class has unchecked, then that will become partially checked exception. Okay, so these two, throwable and exception. So these two are partially checked exceptions. So apart from that, do you see any other partially checked exception? So anyhow, this way, no chance. These are all unchecked. You need to talk about this right side. Inside this, so except this, all are checked exceptions, right? So if you talk about this one, this is checked and these are also checked. So it is fully checked exception. This is also fully checked. This is also fully checked. So this is also fully checked. Anyhow, runtime is already unchecked, right? No need to talk about its child classes even. So in this way, by looking into all these things, we have only two classes which are partially checked. That is throwable and exception. So there are only two partially checked exceptions are available in Java. Those are throwable and exception. Okay, so this is all about fully checked and partially checked exceptions. So when you talk about possible interview questions in this, so what is fully checked exception? What is partially checked? What is the difference between these two? Can you name few fully checked exceptions? Can you name few partially checked exceptions? So coming to the partially checked, you have only two. Those are throwable and exception. Okay. So that's all in this video. Thank you.